Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Tully Burnalot here, coming to you straight from Portugal. The topic of today's video is, why have I not been posting? Well, that's an easy answer. School is over. It was officially over yesterday, and the problem was I had an exam on last Tuesday because my psychoanalysis teacher decided it'd be a good idea to move the exam away from the regular schedule and the first last week of class. So essentially that did fuck up everything I had planned because, hey, now I have to read up on Freud. Yay! Anyway, back on a regular schedule, shall we? Anyway, topic of today's video, the actual topic of today's video, as you can see here, is Starship Rubicon. Currently available on cheerfulghost.com for the low price of $9.99. It is also available on, not really available, but it is on Steam Greenlight. The developer requested that I did, in fact, shout out the Steam Greenlight page. Here's a shout out. This game is a Steam Greenlight page. Now the actual shout out is going to be in the description. I'm going to, of course, as usual, give you all the links, including the Steam Greenlight page. Now, what is Starship Rubicon? Very simple. Starship Rubicon is a space roguelike shooter. You will see why in a second. But first, to the options menu, shall we? Restore, well, not exactly what you would call the best, although it's a bit weird considering that it goes from 800 to 600, 960, and then goes to 1366 by 1768, 768, and then it jumps to 1920 by 1200. Interesting. Let's just ignore that, shall we? Volume, of course, global effect, and music. The music on this game, I'll have to say this one thing, just listen to this. I had the genre pinned down in my head, and I completely forgot what the name was. And I have to say one thing, I do remember that the gameplay itself, the music and the gameplay, reminded me a lot of old-school arcade games, namely Space Invaders, which is actually appropriate because the end cinematic has a shout-out to Space Invaders. But I'm not going to tell you exactly about the story then. Anyway, let's go here. Fire, click, thrust, afterburn, and ability. Not exactly what you would call the most extensive menu. But then again, this is everything you need to play the game right here. You can, of course, play with either mouse or joystick. I don't have a joystick for obvious reasons, so I can't exactly tell you how this plays with a joystick. So, yeah, there's that. You can, of course, as you can see here, you can, of course, change it to mouse or key as you so desire. Honestly, I would say just leave it as it is on default because it does work well. It's a very simplistic, very simplified control scheme. However, it works perfectly for what the game is. Anyway, you can of course choose your pilot. You can have up to 4 profiles, of course. I have Tully Burnalot selected. There you go. So here's how it works. As you can see, the menu is quite interactive. The entire game is in this 16-bit, 32-bit maybe. Not 32, but like 8-bit, 16-bit aesthetic. But it kind of works for the game, because when you're playing the game, it doesn't exactly look like it. It's actually much better. Anyway, here's how it works as a roguelike. You, of course, have progression. And progression is in a matter of your bank. Your bank stores all the, I'm going to call it crystals, because it never exactly tells you what these blue things are. It stores every one of the crystals that he had when you died. And, of course, if you're looking at the regular mode, oh, interesting. I didn't realize this thing had here. Very interesting. Okay. For some reason, I could swear to God, whenever I went to this menu, I only had ships. Okay, pretty weird now. Anyway, the sense of progression that is in this game is in the crystals here. Basically, you put in the bank all the crystals that you had when you died, and you just, stockpile them and stockpile them and stockpile them, until eventually you manage to unlock all these cool ships that you can't actually see or preview. So you have that, don't you? Anyway, essentially, this game can be played in 2 modes, and I'll show you here how it's going to play. You can play it in normal mode or hard mode, as you can see here. It has 5 stages, and each stage has several levels. Normal mode is essentially how a regular game would work. I did not play in hardcore mode because I just got this game yesterday. And not yesterday, yes, actually yesterday, and I played it through the entirety because I wanted to know how the story panned out. And normal mode essentially happens is as long as you have 500 crystals in the bank, you can in fact revive yourself. So imagine you go from one stage to another, right, and you die on that other stage. You pay 500 and you go to the end of the last stage. You can try the new stage where you died over and over until, of course, you either win or you run out of cash. hard mode. I can never pronounce my H's. Hard mode, as you can see here, permadeath, more enemies, more expensive repairs, more expensive equipment, and longer survivor downtime. What this means is, along the game, you're going to be finding shops. In these shops, you can buy new equipment to put in your thing, in your ship. You will also find survivors. These survivors you have to protect in that stage, and will then join you, including some that have very, very useful abilities. For instance, one of the survivors will repair you for free at the end of the match, at the end of the level, as long as he survives. Now, if you go to the hangar, this is how the ship configuration works. Essentially, what you have is every once in a while you will find either a shop or an item on the map, and you can then go ahead. Alright. The thing. Okay. There we go. Essentially, as you can see here, you can choose from a whole selection of, as you can see, things. This is basically everything you get to do, right? And it will show you what these things do in the bottom here, as you can see down here. And of course, you have all these nifty little spaces to put them in. This, of course, functions as the game inventory system, because then you also have to take into consideration that these things occupy space. These things will fuck up any and all possible combinations that you wanted to do. And of course, you do have to take into consideration that sometimes you will not get a lot of good things. I have managed to play through the entire stages where I got no useful items, or I got items that I already had before. I didn't need to use them. So of course there's a lot of the element of random and the random drops and the random number got into the game, which of course is characteristics of roguelike games. But let's just stop that and just go direct into the game. There's 5 stages, as you can see here. That does count as a stage. This is stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I am not going to tell you this whole story, but the basics is this: the Nemesis, the alien Nemesis, has invaded and destroyed Earth. You are one of the last human survivors, if not the last human survivor, and you are the new chance for the human survivors on Earth. No, that's not right. Earth gets blown up by aliens. Your job is to enact revenge and find a new Earth so that humanity can survive. Yay! Your only companion in the beginning is a snarky AI, and you'll see why. It's a hard mode. You can, of course, change configuration, provided you actually had a configuration. You only have the Zhukov Mark II, Lambjet, and Warbird, each with different armor, shield, and speeds, each with different abilities and different attacks. Personally, I prefer the Lambjet because the Death Blossom is just awesome, and you'll see why. I'm assuming that when you play hardcore, it's a lot easier to survive, to get money, because basically you die, you can't just come back. As you can see, all of the dialogue in the game is done through these small boxes in the bottom. You can, of course, pan out the map by using your mouse. As you can see here, I think you can see my mouse. See, I'm doing this, and go down, do this, go down, okay. Anyway, this is basically the map selection screen. You can choose where to go. It will tell you what exactly you're going to be going up against. Anything else, for instance, here you'll find some more cash, for example. Here you'll see minefields, blink turrets, yada yada yada. Biscuit fishes, I still don't have no clue what they do. They're just like space cows, whatever the hell. And of course, you can go here, you can repair your ship, as long as you have the cash for it and your ship is actually damaged. You can go to your hangar and change it with whatever the hell you have. And of course, survivors. I'll explain to you. Oh, human ship detected. Oh, nice. The game has allowed me to demonstrate. So here's how the game works. Right click allows you to boost and to thrust yourself across the whole game, right? Shift does this. It's basically a much faster means of transportation, but it doesn't allow for as much control. One of the things to keep into consideration is when you shoot, your shields go down. Okay. Playing this, as you can see, the sound effects are in fact very reminiscent of stuff like Space Invaders, very old school arcade things. And for some reason, I have no clue what the hell biscuit fishes do. Look, they're just there, make weird noises. Anyway, the minimap up top will tell you everything you need to know. Red dots are of course enemies, green dots are allies or things you need to protect. Yellow things are neutral objects, like for example minefields or of course the biscuit fish. And the blue things are these crystals, of course, if you know what I'm getting. Gray dots you see are these asteroids. Now, normally the asteroids are completely useless and are there just to be a nuisance, but every once in a while, you get blue asteroids, which will give you crystals when you blow them up. If the game specifically, in fact, get the massive ones, like the one here, completely blue, which of course gives you a shit ton of fucking money. And here's how I predict the next game. You can't, in fact, just go through with the right mouse button. You need to shift. Whoosh. And of course, you made 91 crystals. Oh, and I got the guy. Nice. Okay. So basically, as you can see here, Devel will completely repair and upgrade repair your ship if he makes it through a battle for the resell value he says. Which means that if you ready him up like this, and you bring him into a battle, now I can't unselect it. Wow, amazing. If you bring him into battle, that means you'll completely repair your ship free of cost. However, you need to take into consideration that it does have a downtime. You can't just use them on every battle. I don't exactly memorize what the downtime is for Devel, but of course there's different downtimes for different kinds of survivors and different kinds of ship. Oh, like here, see? Boom. There you go. Another thing to keep into consideration, it doesn't work for... There you go. It doesn't work for your abilities, like for example the Death Blossom is all right there. However, it does work for your regular attack, which is if you manage to score a lot of direct hits with your basic attack, like so, you will start getting multipliers. Basically, multipliers of just how many crystals you actually get when you do in fact pick them up, which is a nice little mechanic and stops you from just spamming your special attack all over the place. Another mechanic we use to stop you to do that is basically just see this, right? Overheat. The overheat makes it impossible for you to use your boost and puts your shields down, which means that if you do use your ability, you need to take into consideration just that. It's going to make you a lot more vulnerable. It's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to kill. So you have to make sure that you either blow up all the enemies or you can make a quick escape. As for the actual targeting, as you can see here, targeting gets a hell of a lot more difficult the further away you're shooting. Actually, no, you're just shooting in a straight line. Oh, I'm gonna die. Shit. Anyway, essentially, the further away you shoot, the more you have to take into consideration momentum, because, well, you're in space. There's no friction. So essentially, I want to go that way, right? I do this, but I can just perfectly do that. I'm not gonna lose momentum because I'm in space. And of course, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. You don't just go where you're pointing for obvious reasons. You go where the ship is going. Essentially, you can use a lot of skid movements in this game, like so. You can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this. It's amazing. Though technically speaking, if it was truly a zero friction environment, I could be able to go from this to this without having to do that much of a degree. However, it might be possible that, well, it's just science fiction, just whatever. Those of you who've been paying attention to the chat box on the bottom, yes, the AI is very snarky. And as you noticed, my health went back to full because Devel survived the battle, and even non-battle damage, like imagine you're going to the gate and you hit an asteroid, even that damage gets repaired. It's amazing. Essentially now, Devel is ready, and let's go to this, okay? And this is basically the game. You select the stages that you want to fight, taking into consideration all the goodies that you will find, the amount of resistance, the amount of special mechanics that you'll see, and of course, you don't exactly have that much of a fucking choice. You do have some choice. In fact, when you get to a certain point, that will not explain thoroughly because it will ruin the story, you have a way to maximize your score by being incredibly picky about which stages you pick. And I can tell you much more, otherwise I would in fact ruin the story. And of course, that's pretty much the whole game. One, you have to take into account the fact there's going to be different types of enemies with different types of... And yes, you can ram people and kill them. It's a thing you can do. There you go. Basically, the whole combat revolves around, one, the fact that you're in a zero friction environment and therefore you can perform all these amazing skids and maneuvers. Two, there's different types of enemies with different abilities and different Whoa! Shit. Different types of enemies with different abilities and different capabilities, and of course the fact that one, every time you use a special ability you lose access to your shields, and two, the fact that every time you shoot with your weapon you momentarily lose your shields as well. So essentially, combat is just that. And the more you progress in the game, the more chaotic it becomes because you have a lot more obstacles. Like, for instance, meteor showers here. You will find gravitational anomalies that just zip you all around the place. Space anemone. Gas clouds, gas pockets, and very much stuff like that. As you can see, of course, your special ability does in fact have a cooldown. This is one of the best special abilities purely because it just blows everything on the screen. However, it does in fact have a very pronounced cooldown period, as I'm pretty sure you've noticed. And yes, some enemies do in fact have sprint, other enemies have blink. It's all in the repertoire, essentially. You need to take into account that different enemies are going to have different abilities. And in fact, as you can see here, some of those other enemies can actually help others. For instance, you will have shield ships, which will be able to shield every other friendly ship in vicinity. Shit, I'm almost dead. Come on. And you're dead. There we go. Jesus, that was close. I'm actually pretty bad at this. And of course, you'll have different boss types. In fact, let's go all the way to the boss. And I'll show you how the shop works. Because at the beginning of each stage, you have a shop. Very nice. Let's go here. Okay. And as far as I'm aware of, everything on the map is randomized. So you have to pay a shit ton of fucking money to prepare yourself. And boom. And now, the boss stage at the end has you capture this. You need to get this thing into tow, and then you need to push it through to the gate. Right? And it will give it, boom, you'll have this little boost of credits. Listen to the music. This sounds amazing. See, I could be maximizing my score. There's also that thing. There's also that entire view. Because if you're one of those people who likes to play games to maximize the possible score you can get, you can do that. Because the less you rely on your special abilities, and the more you rely on your initial basic weapon, in this case the revolver, the more points you can actually make. But not points, the more money you can get. Essentially, if you just rely on the basic weapon, you can in fact make a hell of a lot more crystals than me, because I'm just spamming the fucking thing all over the place. Let's face it, it's easier. Ta-da! I win! First boss battle, done. There we go. Scrappy underdog with massive weaponry defeats appropriate enemies. Nemesis challenge. Yay! Enjoy legitimate victory over insurmountable odds surmounted. Your AI is very snarky. It changes a hell of a lot the more you play, and you'll see why. With its soul, stage has been cleared. So essentially, at the end of the stage, you move to a new system, and you can get new levels. And again, they're all completely randomized, so you can get a run with barely any... I once had a run with the first stage, and pretty much every level had an item drop, and here I got no item drops. Might be because, of course, I'm playing on hardcore. As you can see, it's weird numbers because they basically just upped my percentage. I just bought sites. Go here and do that. Take into mind that when you buy stuff like this, you need to put the plus sign on the middle on top of one of the modification slots, as seen here. Let's do that. Actually, can I put the revolver? Oh, I can't, because as you can see, these other components... So for instance, if I did that... I still couldn't. But if I did that, for instance, then I can put the revolver in there. And leave a little point there. But then I couldn't put the point there because it's a weapon. So I need to put it into a place that won't actually do anything. There you go. Done. So as you can see, you need to fit all the tiny spaces onto the appropriate slots. Plus signs go on plus signs, and these little circles on the middle go on these circle things here. Boop, done. And now as you can see, attached weapons, 75% range. So my revolver will fire at a 75% increased range. This of course lets you paint the ship in all the paint jobs that you've had. I of course love red, so let's go with red. And that's pretty much it. This is the game right here. You are capable... I did it up. You are capable of looking forward and ascertaining whether or not you want to go a place, because imagine here you'll get gas bags. Not exactly that dangerous, but, you know, whatever. Here, you'll get human ship detected. Notice how it's not clear where exactly the ship is, so you don't know where to choose. Or you can just do this. Go here, click it, and it's there. Ta-da! Up! Oh, Jesus. Okay, I have no idea what Grace does, so let's just play this one particular match and done. High five! Jesus! That was effective! I want grace! And I just got killed. Ta-da! Woo! Son of a bitch! So yeah, all the money that you got, well, I can't exactly do that, right? As you see, it's hardcore mode, so I just died horribly. And I'm back at the first stage. And that's pretty much the whole game right there. You can, of course, have a save game, or you could just... No. Okay, there we go. You can, of course, play on normal mode, which allows you to just go back to the game, but that's pretty much the whole game right there. It is a space shooter with role-like elements and procedurally generated levels and stages that may or may not treat you like a complete piece of garbage because the game hates you. I can tell you this one thing, it looks funny, it looks lighthearted, but the more you get into the game, the more you start realizing that this game is a hell of a lot more dark than you would have expected it. And in fact, it does have a nice little twist on the whole alien invader thing. That's all I'm going to say without ruining the game for you. You had a good look at the combat, you had a good look at the mechanics, a good look at the roguelike elements. This game is good. And honestly, I like to see it on Steam because it's very much deserving of the whole green light system thing. So I'm gonna go finish this recording and directly just go drop a goddamn thumbs up. As for the rest of you, I can't exactly tell you what to do, but I can tell you this game is incredibly fun to play. Incredibly fun to play. I spent about 2-3 hours, and that's for a lot of death, mind you. 2 to 3 hours finishing the game. A lot of death in the middle, but it's totally worth the $10 thing. Because one, you have hardcore mode, and you have normal mode. And you have the procedurally generated levels, which of course gives you a hell of a lot more replay value. So, well, you have that. Thank you for tuning in. God damn, I think my dog just went crazy. Sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and please stay tuned in to the next video. Goodbye.